Hello guys, welcome to Family Justice Files. Today I bring you a story from Louisville. Now let's begin. The rain in Louisville came down hard that night. Heavy. Relentless. It drummed against my windshield as I pulled into the driveway after another double shift. I sat there for a moment, engine running, hand resting near my chest. I had something hidden on me. Something that could change everything for my family. I stepped onto the porch and reached for the door. Before I touched the knob, I heard it. A sharp pop. Champagne. Then laughter spilling through the wood like it belonged to someone else's house. My stomach tightened. I leaned closer, heart pounding, rain soaking the back of my jacket. That's when I heard my sister's voice. Cool, confident. The family already got $500,000 for the land. We don't need Jenna anymore. I froze. Then my father, quieter, colder. We have to find a way to get rid of her before she finds out. The door was inches from my hand. I had come home ready to save them. Instead, I learned they were already celebrating without me. I took a breath and turned the knob like I hadn't heard a thing. The moment I stepped inside, the house changed faces. The champagne vanished behind the sofa. Laughter collapsed into sighs. Everyone suddenly looked tired, worried, poor. My mother, Beverly, moved first. She lifted a stack of envelopes and waved them like proof. The electricity company called again, she said, eyes glossy. If we don't pay by tomorrow, they'll shut us off. My sister Kendra didn't even look up from the armchair. She was filing her nails, slow, careful. My migraines are killing me, she added. I need cash for my prescription, now. The scent of her perfume hung in the air. Sweet, expensive. It didn't match the story. My father, Howard, sat at the dining table with his head in his hands, a performance of exhaustion I'd seen for years. He slid a thick folder toward me without meeting my eyes. Just a formality, he said quietly. Property management authorization, helps with the bank, keeps the house another year. I looked down at the title. Authorization. Waiver. Inheritance. My chest tightened. This wasn't new. This was the pattern. For 5 years, I had covered bills, groceries, repairs, interest payments. Every emergency somehow landed in my lap. Whenever I asked questions, the answer was always the same. You're stronger than us. You can handle it. Family helps family. I decided to test them. Casually, like it didn't matter, I said, people at work were talking about buyouts near the port, said some neighborhoods were getting offers. My mother didn't hesitate. That's gossip, she snapped. Don't listen to idle talk, we're still drowning. Kendra finally looked up. Are you going to stand there, she said, or are you going to be useful? My father pushed a pen toward me. Sign tonight, he said. I'll take it to the bank first thing. I picked it up and let my hands shake. I'm dizzy, I said, double shift. I need to lie down before I read anything. They didn't hide their irritation, but they let me go. I closed my bedroom door and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. The house was quiet now. Too quiet. Something felt wrong, not just the lies. Later that night, I heard footsteps outside my door, drawers opening, closing. The next morning, my room was a mess. Clothes pulled out, books stacked wrong, nothing taken, but everything searched. They weren't looking for money. They were looking for my leverage. At dinner, my mother placed the electricity bill beside my plate, expectation heavy in the air. I slid it back. I'm not paying this month, I said, or any month after. My father's hand slammed the table. You live under this roof, he shouted. You don't get to decide that. I looked at him calmly. I've been deciding it for 5 years, I said. You just didn't notice. The room went silent, and for the first time, I stopped feeling guilty. I didn't confront them. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't even raise my voice. I went quiet. The next morning, instead of driving to work, I turned toward downtown. The municipal building near the river stood gray and solid, like it didn't care about family drama. That helped. Inside, the air smelled like paper and dust. I approached the records counter and asked, carefully, for public zoning documents tied to our address. The clerk typed without emotion, keys clicking, screen glowing. Then she turned the monitor toward me. The block had been approved for acquisition, urgent, commercial expansion. The number sat there in plain text, $500,000. I asked when the paperwork was filed. She scrolled. Last week. I felt my pulse in my throat when I saw the signature at the bottom. My father's name. Clear. Confident. There was a deposit, she added, half up front. I nodded, thanked her, and walked outside before my legs gave out. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel. They hadn't been struggling. They'd been performing. I called the bank next. Because my name was still on the account we used for mortgage payments, the representative verified my identity and pulled the recent activity. She hesitated. "Ma'am," she said, professional but careful, "I'm seeing several high-end retail transactions." She read them off. Designer stores, large amounts. Then she asked, "Would you like to flag these as unauthorized?" I took a breath. "No," I said. "I just needed confirmation." There was a pause. "All right," she replied. "If you change your mind, that option remains available." I thanked her and ended the call. When I hung up, I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder, a clean understanding. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk with my laptop open and started a simple file. Not a diary, not a rant. A timeline. Date the buyout was filed. Date the deposit posted. The folder they pushed at me. The exact words I heard through the door. I kept it plain, because plain is harder to argue with. I also did something I'd never done before. I started saving proof the way professionals do. Screenshots, email confirmations, document names, times. I made a folder and labeled it with my own last name, not theirs. Around midnight, the house went quiet. I replayed the porch moment in my head again. I opened a voice memo app, not to record them, to record myself. I whispered what I had heard, where I was standing, what was said. It wasn't perfect, but it was time-stamped. Proof that I didn't imagine it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't send it, I just stored it. Then I secured what mattered most, not dramatically, not cleverly. Just somewhere ordinary people never check. 2 days later, my room was torn apart again. This time, they didn't bother fixing it. Drawers yanked out, mattress lifted, closet emptied. They were getting desperate. At dinner, my father didn't ask. He demanded. "You're signing tonight," he said, sliding the folder back across the table. Kendra leaned forward, eyes sharp. "And if you don't," she added, "we'll have to protect ourselves." My mother stared at her plate like she couldn't hear any of it. I looked down at the papers. Same titles, same waivers. This time, I didn't argue. "I need a minute," I said. "I'll read it properly." I went to my room and closed the door. And that's when it clicked. They weren't afraid of losing the house. They were afraid of losing control. I opened my document again and added one more line. If they push tonight, I leave tonight. Then I move everything to writing. When I stood up, my hands were steady. I wasn't trapped anymore. I was prepared. They didn't wait for me to finish dinner. Kendra stood up first, breath sharp, eyes bright in that way she got when she thought she had the upper hand. "My necklace is gone," she said. "You were near my room." I looked up slowly. Howard slapped a document onto the table, hard enough to rattle the plates. "This ends tonight," he said. "You sign, you leave, or we call the police." The title was familiar, Waiver of Residence and Inheritance. Beverly didn't look at me. She stared at the table like she was praying the wood would speak for her. I didn't defend myself, because this wasn't about jewelry. This was about removing me. I picked up the paper and scanned it like it was a work email, line by line, dates blank, terms vague. Howard watched me closely, like he couldn't stand the silence. "It's just to make things clean," he said. "You'll be fine." I met his eyes. "Then put your promises in writing," I said calmly. "Add that I won't be accused of anything after I sign." His jaw tightened. Kendra scoffed. "You don't get to negotiate," she said. "You're lucky we're giving you a choice." My mother finally spoke, voice soft like that made it innocent. "Just sign, Jenna," she said. "Don't make this ugly." I nodded once. "Give me a minute," I said. "I need air." No one stopped me. I went to my room, closed the door, and sat on the bed. The house felt smaller now, tighter. I signed. Not because it mattered, because it didn't. When I came back, I placed the paper on the table. Howard exhaled like a man who'd won something. "Pack your things," he said. "You're done here." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I walked out with one bag and a steady breath. The rain had stopped. The night felt clean. I didn't go far. I parked down the street and made 2 calls. The first was to the bank. This time, I didn't ask questions. "I'd like to formally flag recent transactions tied to the joint account," I said, effective immediately. The representative paused, then replied, "I'll need to place temporary restrictions while we review." "That's fine," I said. "Please put it in writing." She confirmed. "Access limited. Cards reviewed. Activity paused pending verification." Then I added one more sentence, still calm. "And I want my name removed from any automatic payments that connect me to their spending." She acknowledged. Process started. Confirmation to email. The second call was about separation. "I need to unlink myself from any shared financial responsibility," I said. all future obligations in writing. By the time I hung up, my hands were calm. That mattered. I spent the night in a quiet hotel room, white sheets, no voices. In the morning, my phone lit up. Missed calls, messages. From Kendra, from Howard, from Beverly. I didn't open them. At noon, I received an email confirmation from the bank. Account access adjusted. Review in progress. An hour later, another message arrived. Several charges declined. I imagined the moment. A card handed over, a terminal blinking red. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. That afternoon, I returned to the house once, not to talk, to collect what was mine. Howard stood in the doorway, face tight. "You think you're clever," he said. "You don't get to punish us." "I'm not punishing anyone," I replied. "I'm setting terms." Kendra laughed, brittle. "You'll come crawling back," she said. "You always do." I picked up my last box and met her eyes. "No," I said, "I don't." They followed me to the porch. Beverly tried one last time. "We raised you," she said softly. "You owe us." I stopped, turned. "I paid," I said, "for years." Then I left. That night, I sat at a small desk and opened my laptop. I didn't write a speech. I didn't post feelings. I organized files, public records, bank confirmations, a dated timeline. Everything clean, everything simple. No speeches, just terms. And I waited. Because consequences don't need volume. They need timing. They didn't come after me in person. They went online. By the next morning, my phone buzzed with notifications I didn't open. Screenshots sent by friends. Links. Messages that started with, "I don't know what to believe, but..." Kendra posted first. Long paragraphs, crying emojis, stories about an ungrateful daughter who abandoned her parents and stole money. Howard followed with something calmer, measured, almost respectable. "We're handling this privately," he wrote. "Please respect our family." I didn't comment. I didn't correct a single sentence. Silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was strategy. A few days later, I did what I'd been holding close since that rainy night. I handled my own future properly, through the right office, with the right paperwork. No announcement, no attention. When the funds landed in my new account, I stared at the balance until the numbers stopped feeling like a dream. Not because I wanted revenge, because I finally had options. I moved into a clean place with quiet walls and a view of the river. Nothing flashy, just mine. Then I did the part that mattered. I shared what happened, but only what I could prove. Not a rant, not a plea. Receipts. I posted the public buyout record with the date visible, the bank email confirmations showing when access changed, a simple timeline that started with the night I heard them through the door. I didn't add commentary. I titled it with one line, "What happened?" in order. That was it. It spread the way truth spreads when it's boring. Someone forwarded the documents, then another person checked the dates, then someone compared it to what Kendra had posted. No shouting, just people quietly backing away from a story that didn't hold up. The response didn't arrive all at once. It came in small shifts. Messages stopped, then changed. I didn't know. This explains a lot. "I'm sorry." Kendra called that night. I let it ring. She texted instead. "Why would you do this to me?" I stared at the screen, then replied with one sentence. "I didn't do anything to you. I stopped covering for you." Her next message came fast. "You're ruining our family." I put the phone down and didn't answer. Because families don't collapse from documents. They collapse from choices. 2 days later, my inbox filled with short, formal notices. Advertising partnership, terminated. Contract ended. We're moving in a different direction. I didn't forward them. I didn't celebrate. I sat on the floor of my living room with my back against the wall and let the quiet settle. For the first time, no one needed anything from me. No bills slid across tables. No folders pushed into my hands. No guilt dressed up as love. That night, I slept without setting an alarm. In the morning, the river moved the same way it always had. Steady, unconcerned. I made coffee and stood by the window, holding the mug with both hands. This wasn't revenge. It was release. I hadn't destroyed anyone. I had stepped out of the role they wrote for me. And I didn't plan to audition again. 6 months passed. Louisville moved on. Seasons changed. Leaves turned, then fell. One quiet afternoon, my phone buzzed with a notification from the building's security desk. 3 individuals are requesting access at the front gate, the message read. They say they're family. I opened the live camera feed. Howard stood closest to the intercom, smaller, grayer. Beverly clutched her purse with both hands, eyes darting like she was afraid of the glass. Kendra stood behind them, silent, looking at the ground. I pressed the talk button. "Jenna," my mother said immediately, voice breaking, "please, just open the door. We need to talk." My father leaned in next. "We made mistakes," he said. "We're still your parents." I watched them for a long second, not with anger, with clarity. "You sold me for $500,000, I said evenly. "That transaction ended the night you asked me to leave." Beverly started crying harder. "We didn't know what else to do," she said. "Please, we're family." I shook my head. "Family doesn't require waivers," I said, "and it doesn't need threats." Howard swallowed. "Just help us this one last time," he said. "We won't ask again." I looked at Kendra. She didn't look up. "I'm not reopening this," I said. "Do not come back here again." Then I ended the call. I contacted security and asked them to escort the visitors off the property. I didn't watch. I stepped onto my balcony instead. The river below moved slowly, catching the afternoon light. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down. No rush, no noise. Peace didn't arrive dramatically. It arrived when I stopped explaining. Lessons from this story. Boundaries are policies, not punishments. The moment I stopped paying bills and put everything in writing, the pattern broke. Accountability follows documentation. Public records, bank confirmations, and dated timelines mattered more than any argument. Self-respect begins at the door you choose not to open. Closing that gate was not cruelty. It was clarity. If this story resonated with you, please leave a like to support our work. What would you have done in my place when your family crossed that line? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories about boundaries, justice, and self-rescue, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.